What's going on now? I was about to go to sleep, but then this story came across, and I had to really address this, or I felt like the compelled to say something. It says Houston woman charged after man is shot in the head while friends play with loaded guns, said police. This is something that happened on Facebook Live, basically April 1st. You know, they said a Houston woman is behind bars and her friend is on life support after police say they were playing with guns Sunday morning in southeast Houston. I'm not gonna say the lady's name, but basically you'll see the story and whatnot. Basically, the young lady who was 25 is charged with tampering with evidence, according to police. Officers were called out to a shooting at the Valero gas station at Amada Road near Southmore Boulevard around 2:25 a.m. Investigators said that the victim and the second man were checked out as each other's guns when they were accidentally fired, striking the victim in the head as he sat in the driver's seat. The disturbance appeared to be kids playing with guns, said the detectives. Yeah. Um, it, wow, this is crazy. First off, you shouldn't play with guns. I don't care who you are. I don't care how old you are. I don't care how young you are. I don't care what the case is, what the situation may be. To be playing with weapons in any case, it's a situation that's very tragic, and to have somebody on life support, because folks don't know how to handle weapons. If you're gonna have weapons, at least know how to handle a weapon. But I guess it goes to the society that we're in. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, it's like that, but this is a little different, Mrs. P. This is a situation where there was a couple of kids out in Houston that were playing around in the car. There's a Facebook video that's surfacing around, of what happened, and I didn't watch the whole video. I didn't get too deep into it and whatnot, but from what I'm reading from the news story, something that I just happened to see in passing online, I just said, wow, the society that we live in, the way that things are, where people don't take things as seriously, not being taught, like I said, there's now somebody's child or, somebody's, potential, father or boyfriend, or whatever the case now is on life support. Yeah, yeah, nah, it's real. It's real, Mark's Place. This is something that's in the news. This is a story that caught my attention, caught my eye. Yeah, it's so sad, and as for those posting the videos, yeah, a lady was arrested. The lady that shot the guy accidentally in the head is got arrested for shooting the person in the head. And what happened was she tried to tamper with the evidence. She tried to wipe the gunpowder residue off of the weapon, and basically try to hide it, So, but with forensics, it's like Chris Rock said for this generation, CSI, CSI. If you think you're going to get away with a murder, if you think something is not going to happen or be found, check again. But this was a situation where it was a Facebook video surfacing around from Sunday, from April 1st, basically, where, I hope it wasn't an April Fool's joke, because it'd be a bad April Fool's joke. But it's a situation where basically accidentally the gun went off and shot the guy in the head. Yeah, it does make you wonder, if it was an accident, but at the same time, they're ruling it an accident, or, at least the lady is being charged with tampering with evidence and misleading the authorities, in the accidental shooting. You could see in the video where it looks like it's an accidental shooting. I haven't watched the whole video, but I've seen parts of the video where you could tell there's somebody who doesn't know how to handle the weapon, who may have accidentally shot the person and, basically, put them on life support. Yeah, what's going on, Star Delta 9? This is just something that I was just talking on real quick, like I said, because it's just amazing, and these are people who are, relatively, in their adult years, or in their, the beginning of their adult years, in their early 20s, mid to early 20s. I think the man was 26, if I'm not mistaken, the guy that's on life support now, and it just goes to show that you want to be safe, regardless of how people feel about gun control and Second Amendment rights, and safety in schools, or bars or churches and stuff like that. You want to safely understand and learn how to handle a weapon. And unfortunately, there are people out there who don't know how to handle weapons, and there are people that shouldn't be near weapons of any kind, knives, guns, grenades, swords. There's people that shouldn't be nowhere near any weapons, and this story is a prime example of it. It makes you wonder about the society that we're in. Where we constantly take things like this for granted. Yeah, some people don't ever want to shoot a gun. I mean, I've definitely shot guns and learned and been trained to do certain things myself, and I understand the seriousness of it. I understand, it's a life or death situation when you start, you know, um, maneuvering or handling something that you may not understand. There's a lot of kick, there's a lot of power, in these weapons. This is something that you hold the weight of the world sometimes in your hands. What's going on, drone worship? And it's sad. It's just sad. I mean, when I heard the story, I seen some of the video, I was just like, wow. So this is what we doing right now as a society, and I think it's a structural problem. The lack of a seriousness there. My dad taught me to shoot 12 or 11 years, and I was scared. Yeah, nah, it's like that. You hold the way for a flat world, the hands out. Let's be proud. That's funny. That's funny, drone worship. Yeah, it's sad the world we live in, Star Delta, but somebody has to say something. It's a problem. Maybe it's a desensitization or just a lack of seriousness, as far as folks not understanding that, it matters how you handle these things. It matters, what you take in as a society. You know, it really matters that, that life is precious, and sometimes we don't see that. Gun safety is key. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of people out there that don't understand the seriousness of this issue, of this matter. And this just goes to show, like, now you have somebody on life support because, gun safety, gun control wasn't taken seriously. Same thing as Yoda said, Skywalker, he went to the cave and said, cut down his own head, the lightsaber. Yeah, I get it, I get it. I mean, but in all seriousness, I hear you, drone worship, and, using any weapon is a responsibility to it. It's something to be understood that, hey, these things are not toys. A gun is not a toy. A knife is not a toy. Actually, we're talking about something pretty deep. Drone worship. It's a story that happened in the paper about a paper or the news about a man who was shot accidentally in the head with a couple of friends who were playing with guns. Playing with the gun, and they have a Facebook video that's surfacing around and talking about it, and it's kind of sad. It's definitely sad. Now, I don't know what's going on, Crazy Kev. Yeah, I'm not referring to a movie. I'm referring to something in real life. Drone worship. It was a story about something that happened in Houston, and it's something that people will hear more about, later on in the day. It's just a sad situation that basically happened on April 1st, and the details are out there. That's why I'm not going into the details. This is more about the responsibility and the philosophy, the principles behind it all. It matters, how you handle these weapons. These things are not toys. I mean, I go back to the story when I was younger, when I was about 6 years old, and I was down south in North Carolina, and there was me and a couple of kids in there in the room. It was my cousins and stuff, and we went in the room, and I don't know where I found this weapon at, but I picked up a gun. I thought it was a toy at the time, and I aimed it at the other kids that were in the room, and I didn't know that this was a loaded gun. It was a real gun. Something just told me out of the blue just to aim the gun towards the ceiling, and I pulled the trigger, and there was a kick from the weapon, and I was lucky and fortunate that the bullet didn't ricochet, because in the next room there was actually a baby in the next room, and this has happened when I was 6. So I learned when I was 6 that guns are nothing to play with, and it's when I see stuff like this, it's real. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, man, now you got somebody on life support. Drone worshipers, I think we should get rid of the guns and seriously use lightsabers, and that's death. Well, this is not a laughing matter. It's something I don't take lightly. This is something I take very serious. But I understand where you're coming from, drone worship. All I know is that there's a situation where you have somebody now who's on life support because, they didn't take things serious as they should have. And now, there's somebody, whose life has changed forever. Multiple people whose lives have changed forever, and that just goes to show, sometimes we have a desensitization, about, how we, look at violence in this country. Things that we really may not take as serious as we should, leads to situations like this happening. The people winding up dead, in particular situations like this, and hopefully you can hear me. I don't know if you folks can hear me in the chat, but like I said, this may not be something that folks really want to talk about, and I get it. I understand. This is just me speaking on it and saying my piece and whatnot. I get it. This is not for the faint of heart. So I don't know. I don't know. Thoughts and prayers with the families. People that are affected. By this situation. I don't know. It's just sad. It's really just sad, man. We got to take things more seriously, man. Like I said, these weapons are nothing to play with. Definitely nothing to play with. But anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Be safe out there. Hug your loved ones. Don't take any of these situations lightly. That may happen. Any weapons and things folks that come into contact with. Wow, what a crazy world we live in, right? Crazy society. I don't know. I'm not trying to depress anybody. It's just what it is. You got to talk about the real issues. You just got to know that life is precious, man. It's really precious. It's really precious. Don't take it for granted. Don't play with it. Don't put yourself in dangerous situations just because it's fun and life is boring. Now that situation in Houston, it is, it's crazy. It's wow. Like I said, hug your loved ones. Spread love. It's the Brooklyn way. Crazy world we live in.